Hi guys, welcome you all to my channel Explore Edu to Teach.
So the next topic that we'll be covering today is going to be introduction to a synchronous counter. Already video lecture on synchronous counter. The kind of synchronous counter, like you have the twisted ring counter, then you have the ring counter, is already uploaded on my YouTube channel Digital Electronics playlist. So please go and watch it from there if you don't know this concept. So let us begin now with a synchronous counter. If you like this particular video, do not forget to like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram as well. The links are given down in the description box. All the formula sheets, all the diagrams and everything are regularly uploaded on my Instagram page also. It's going to be very handy for you at the time of your exam preparation. It will help you for quick revision and you can go through my Instagram page also. If you like it, do not forget me to follow on Instagram also. The links are given down in the description box. So let's begin up with the concept. What is asynchronous counter? So this class we are just going to talk about asynchronous counter introduction. In the next class we are going to start with the detailed understanding of asynchronous counter. So it's very important for you to have a better understanding about asynchronous counter. What is asynchronous counter? What are the different terminologies in asynchronous counter? So that when we go ahead and start drawing diagrams of different kind of counters under asynchronous, you should be able to understand it very well. So I hope I'm very clear. So let's start with asynchronous counters. So what is asynchronous counter? So there are few parameters for asynchronous counters. Clock is not common to all flip-flops. That is something very important. In case of a synchronous counter, the clock is common to all the flip-flop. Whereas in case of your asynchronous counter, the clock is not going to be common to all the flip-flop. Okay. The clock is only going to be applied to the lowest significant bit flip-flop, and then the output of every flip-flop will be given as the clock input to the other flip-flop. That is very important. The major highlight, the major difference between a synchronous and asynchronous counter is, in case of synchronous counter, you should be knowing that the clock is common to all the flip-flop. But in case of asynchronous counter, the clock is not common to all the flip-flop. Instead, it is applied only to the lowest significant bit flip-flop, and then the output of one flip-flop is given as the input to the other flip-flop. So I hope I am very clear with this. Now, what are the different kind of asynchronous counters? We have two kind of asynchronous counter: the binary up and the binary down counter. So that is it. Now we are going to have different diagrams. We are going to use different symbols during the construction of different asynchronous counters. So what are those symbols? What do they stand for is something that you need to understand very well. So let's try to understand. Now, as I told you, the asynchronous counter can be binary up counter, it can be binary down counter. However, it can be edge triggered or it can be level triggered. So in case of edge triggered, it can be a positively edge triggered flip-flop or it can be a negatively edge triggered flip-flop. So when I talk about positively edge triggered flip-flop, this triangle, if you are able to see, indicates that it is a edge triggered flip-flop. If you look in the case of a level triggered flip-flop, there is no triangle present over here. So you need to understand one thing very well. In case of your edge triggered flip-flop, you have the triangle over here, whereas in case of level triggered flip-flop, you don't have the triangle over here. So these are very important points when you will be actually drawing diagrams for different counters. You need to understand, in case of your edge triggered flip-flop, you are going to indicate it with a triangle, whereas in case of your level triggered flip-flop, there is not going to be any counter over here. So I hope I am very clear with this. So a positive edge triggered flip-flop will basically have this arrow going from lower to upper. So that is a positive edge trigger flip-flop. Whereas in case of your negative edge trigger flip-flop, what is going to happen is that you are going to have this triangle, but also you are going to have a bubble over here. The bubble indicates that it's a negatively, and a triangle indicates that it's a edge triggered flip-flop. So in that case, you are going to have a downward arrow. So if I want to just classify a kind of flip-flop, so there can be a positive edge trigger flip-flop, there can be a negative edge trigger flip-flop as well. In case of positive edge trigger flip-flop, you are going to have the clock going from lower to upper. Whereas in case of your negatively edge trigger flip-flop, you're going to have a clock going from upper to lower. There's going to be a edge triangle obviously, but also there's going to be a bubble. Also in case of your level trigger flip-flop, there can be a positively level trigger flip-flop, there can be negatively level trigger flip-flop. So in case of level trigger, what is going to happen is, there is not going to be any triangle as I told you, and a positively edge trigger flip-flop will have a positive arrow in the upper side, whereas a negatively edge trigger flip-flop will have on a lower side, and also you can indicate with a bubble as I told you in case of your negatively edge trigger flip-flop. Similarly, we will have certain parameters more in case of a flip-flop. It can be a clear parameter, it can be a preset parameter as well. So as I told you, the asynchronous flip-flop can be of two types, the binary up and the binary down. So the up counter will have a clear symbol, whereas in case of your down counter you will have a preset, that is PRE symbol present over here. So when I talk about the up counter, it's going to start counting upwards, and when it is reset, it will be cleared. So active low will have only one bubble. It can have a bubble and a bar, or it can have only a bar. Whereas in case of active high, it will have nothing. There will be no bubble, there will be no bar. So these are the representation methods of a clear in case of up counter. You have to be very clear. So if someone tells you draw a clear symbol for a active low flip-flop, so you have to understand that a clear symbol is by default only for a up counter, and the symbol can be any three of them. Whereas in case of active high, it is going to be this way. Similarly, as I told you that a clear symbol is only for a up counter, similarly you will have a preset symbol only for a down counter. What does it mean is that when the flip-flop is preset, it will come to the maximum value and again start counting downwards when the clock is applied. So in case of active low, it can have a bubble over here, it can have a bubble over here, or it can just have a bar. But in case of active high, you only have a preset value over here. Okay, so I hope I'm very clear. So you should be very clear what do you mean by asynchronous counter, what are the different type of asynchronous counter, what is a positively edge triggered flip-flop, what is a negatively edge triggered flip-flop. The edge will always have a triangle over here, a level triggered will not have the triangle over here, and then you will have a clear symbol. What is how do you denote a clear symbol, how do you denote a active low signal in case of preset? It's very important. So understand these symbols very well. The notes are present on description box as well. This photo of this summary will be uploaded on my Instagram page as well. So please check it over there as well. If you like this video, do not forget to like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Instagram. There are going to be in the future class wherein we are going to have the designing of asynchronous counter, and this designing will depend upon the basics that we have learned in this class. For example, here mod 7 counter, we are going to solve few gate problems as well. So if you really want to watch these videos, do not forget to hit the bell icon and subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram as well. Thank you so much guys. God bless you.